Hi everyone, Noel Julian here. Welcome to my May Take the Road news update. I hope you're all good and I've been out there enjoying your classics. I've been having fun with my Alfa Romeo Spider, though it's got a little bit of a problem at the moment, and I'll come back to that just in a sec. So since I spoke to you last, I released part 2 of Take the Road's Garage, and in that episode I took a closer look at my Series 3 Alfa Romeo Spider. The purpose of that video was to basically give you all a close detailed look at the car and how much Alfa Spider I actually got for £4,200. And it was also the first episode for me to test my Edelkrone Slider 1 motion slider, and just using that slider allowed me again to spend more time with the car and to just kind of take a step back, slow things down and just focus on the detail. And so I hope you enjoy that episode, and I hope it's given you a flavour of how much work I've got ahead of me to get this Spider into tip-top condition. So I've got a lot planned obviously to do to the car. At the moment it's sat outside and I can't get it to start because the starter motor has actually, I think, officially died. So my original plan was to do a part 3 episode and focus on the history of the car, because I've been in touch with Alfa Romeo Heritage, and so I've asked them to dig up as much information on the history of the car, so the build specs, etc., so I can work out what the official colour of it should be and what how it left the factory. But instead I think my next film is going to be me fitting a new starter motor, so that's next thing on the list. So I'm going to have to go off and buy a brand new starter motor and get that installed, and fingers crossed I can do that relatively straightforward, and hopefully it won't be too much of a problem. So we'll see what happens there. Also, since I spoke to you last, I went to the London Motor Show at Battersea Park in London. Now traditionally that show isn't really about classics, but I got an invite from Strathstone UK because they were displaying one of their very special Jaguar lightweight E-types. I got the invite to go to the show, which was great, and I was able to spend quite a bit of time with the car, and that was really cool. Well, number one, because it's a £1.5 million Jaguar, and it was just gorgeous. It's an absolutely stunning car. I wasn't able to sit in it, unfortunately, because the doors were locked. So clearly, when you've got a car worth 1.5 million, you don't want lots of people sitting in it. But yeah, I still had a good chance to just basically stand and drool over the car and look at all the detail and basically take in the beauty that is the lightweight E-type. While I was at the show as well, I went to the David Brown Automotive stand because they had the first public appearance of their Mini remastered, and basically it's an old school Mini which they've taken and completely taken apart, stripped down, rebuilt. So they take a heritage shell and they de-seam it, so the bodywork is a lot smoother, and there's lots of little touches on the car that just make it stand out. And on the interior, it's amazing. It's a real luxury Mini. I think they're pretty cool. I mean, for the price, 75 grand, it's a huge amount of money for a very small car. But if you want to stand out, especially driving around Soho and Shoreditch and Chelsea in London, that's probably the kind of car you want to bomb around in. But yeah, it was cool. The other car that caught my eye at the London Motor Show was the Alpine A110. Ever since Renault announced that the Alpine was coming back, I've been so excited. I just couldn't wait to see it. I'm a massive fan of the original. For me, it's one of the few rally cars that is able to combine a true purpose with beauty. It was a brilliant rally car. It went out there and it just demolished the opposition. It was fantastic, but it also looked gorgeous as it did it, and it's quite a rare combination, and it's just such a beautiful shape. And I spent probably about an hour and a half at the stand chatting with the staff, and looked at the car in detail, sat in it, and yeah, it's a nice car. It's very comfortable inside. It does follow the lightweight principles of the original A110, so there's quite a bit of weight saving that's taken place in the design of the vehicle itself, and it's not going to be cheap. It's going to cost somewhere in the region of about £60,000, which is a lot of money for a 2-seat GT sports car. But from its 1.8 turbocharged engine, it's going to produce probably around 250 brake horsepower, which is pretty good. Personally, I would love to own one. just purely on the aesthetics of it. It's a stunning car. You have to see one in the flesh. If you're going to go to a car show and there's one there, go look at it. Just stand there, take in the shape, look at all the little details that hark back to the original car. It's a work of art, and I think it's definitely going to be a classic for the future. Also, earlier in the week, I got a very cool email, and I was asked if I would like to interview Shane Lynch. Some of you will recognise that name. But basically, Shane Lynch was a singer in the boy band called Boyzone, and for me, obviously being Irish, I know a lot about Boyzone. Personally, I'm not a fan of Boyzone. I'm more into Metallica, Iron Maiden, Paradise Lost, Rage Against the Machine, that sort of music. So boy bands never really been on my radar. But Shane Lynch he's a cool guy, and he's mad into his cars, always has been. So I got an email from one of his agents asking if I'd like to do an interview with him. And Shane is actually heading up a TV series called Supercar Megabuild, and the show aired in 2016, and they had different presenters for the first series. So now for the second series, they've brought Shane on board, and one of his mates, Dan, who's a mechanic, they are taking over the whole series. So Shane is really big into his cars, and throughout his kind of music career, I was vaguely aware of his interest in cars, but I didn't really realise how deep that was until I got the chance to speak to him, and I was doing my own research prior to the interview. And he got his big break in motorsport after a track day event that he was invited to, and he thought it was basically going to be a celebrity track day, loads of singers and artists, etc., turn up and just bomb around the track for a bit. But when he turned up, he actually realised he was up against Alistair McRae and Alan McNeish and John Collins, so some of the kings of motorsport basically. And the organizer said, right, okay, Shane, here you go, you can go at the back of the grid, so we'll keep you out of the way of the the professionals. And he said after the third lap he was in third position, and he managed to hold on to third until the end of the race. And Ford Motorsport were there in the stands, and they came over and approached him, and they signed him there and then on the spot. So he started racing for Ford Motorsport, and from there on as well he went on into drifting. So he's pretty big on the drifting scene, especially in Europe. It was nice just to get the chat to Shane. He's a very down to earth guy, really chatty, and it was quite funny. Typical first question I asked him, what was your first car? And he said, a Toyota Hilux. I bought it from Carlo, and where I grew up back home, I'm very, very near Carlo, so it's kind of like, oh man, you drove all the way down to Carlo to buy a Toyota Hilux pickup from a farmer, which an old Hilux pickup truck is your atypical kind of farm wagon in the country back home. So yeah, that was cool, and it was just it was nice to find out a bit more about his passion for cars. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed my May news update, and I will be back in June with more car stuff. Make sure you subscribe to my old YouTube channel, and if you haven't been to my website, I've got an e-newsletter as well, so if you head on over to the website, link will be here. You can sign up to my e-newsletter and you won't miss out on any updates I put on my website. And don't forget, I'm also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram as well. And if you want to help me make more classic car films, head on over to my Patreon page and become a patron to Takes the Road. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care. See you soon.